at Catherine Cook. This is my family. Tiffany is always asking me, to put in some cute pictures. So my kids are grown. They're college. All three of them are in college. We have a blended family, so they're one right after the other. So they're not so cute anymore. But my dogs are really cute. So this is my family. I've been here at Catherine Cook. This is my first full year with the school and head of early childhood, and I'm just super excited to be here. I've been an educator for 25 years now, here in Chicago the whole time. I started off as a teacher, so I taught the elementary age and early childhood. And from there, I moved to being a director at an early childhood center. And then I was teaching again and developed a role at school as a gifted coordinator. So I worked with kids that were high achieving and with the teachers on how to differentiate in the classroom for them. From there, I started a program, an after school program, focusing on the social and emotional growth of gifted students. And then I became an assistant head of school at a school down the street that was a gifted school. So I made my way back to early childhood, which is really my passion. I love this age so much. I just love seeing their development. I love working with you, the parents, on how to foster independence, find their love for learning. And I just love watching like their aha moments every day. So I'm very excited to be here at Catherine Cook. I'm excited to work with all of you and just to continue this journey. Let's see. So as we're still letting a few people in, we're going to do what we call here at Catherine Cook a check-in. It's in order for us all to get to know one another and build on our community, we're going to participate in this. So what I'd like you to do right now is just to think about your time as an early childhood student. So when you were ages 3 to 5 years old, and think about your fondest memory. And then in the chat, if you could, please add your name, your child's name and age, and then tell us about that memory that you have from this time. So I'm going to give everybody a minute or so just to kind of think about what that is and share those memories with us.
How do you go to the chat? I'm not so tech savvy.
You should have a bar somewhere on your screen that says like mute, stop video, and there's a little chat. Yeah.
And no, it just says my name and it says mute and rename.
If you extend the bar, maybe.
More. Stop video, share content. Aha.
And then it should say chat down there.
I don't know why this is not showing up for me. Oh, here we go. Okay.
I see one of the first memories is someone had a green machine. I bought my son one of those when he was little and he loved that. But that's old school. They came back for a little bit.
They still exist. You can still find them.
Yeah.
That was me. Hi.
Those are awesome.
Yeah.
Grandparents' Day. That's great. We love bringing families into the school. We just had our friendship concert for early childhood on Valentine's Day. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for that, but I saw the video. I watched it live, and it was so. That's something great about our school is if you're not able to attend, different events, we do live stream and it's recorded as well. So I was able to watch from afar, and it was so sweet. We love having families in the school. Stuffies are such a big deal here. I was just in the JK classroom and the kids were, one of those students is really obsessed with stuffies. He was talking about them there. I was giggling with one of the teachers about it. Playground. Hopefully you all got to see our playgrounds up on the rooftop. They're very special. These are all great memories. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's really important for us all to, get to a place of remembering what it was like for us to be that age and, what is so important for our students and their learning. So thank you again for sharing. We appreciate that. So what can you look forward to as a family at Catherine Cook? This is an outline of things I'm going to go over. I'm going to talk about your team and the trust that we develop in each other, the love of learning that we hope to instill in your children, fostering independence. This is what early childhood is about. It's really about gaining that independence so that you can access the academics as we introduce those. We'll talk about enrichment in the classroom. We'll talk about support services and screenings, how we plan intentionally our instruction, units of inquiry that you might see in classrooms, our diversity, equity, and inclusion, how we integrate that into our day-to-day, our social and emotional learning, which is also integrated day-to-day. And we also have our wonderful social worker who comes in and helps our teachers with lesson planning. We'll talk about our math program, our literacy program, and then how we communicate with you all. So again, if you're just joining too, if you could mute yourself during this time, I'm okay if you interrupt me. I don't see the chat just because I'm going through the all of the slides here. So if you have a question, I'll look at that at the end. But if you can mute yourself during this time, unmute if you have a pressing question. I'm okay with being interrupted. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is just your team. We are a team here. We're a community here at Catherine Cook. The teachers are here to help your student flourish and grow. And we want your input so that we can best understand your child. So the very first part of our learning together is that you will have a conference with your teacher before school starts. I think this is such a special part of our program. So you'll be able to come into the classroom without your child, and sit down with your team, with your teachers, with your child's teachers, and talk about what are your child's likes, what are their dislikes, what do they do when they're feeling upset, how do they express their happiness, and they'll talk to you too about how we lesson plan and how we create our plans for your child. And we want you to trust us and know that we are experts in the field. We're constantly looking at research. We're a research-based program, meaning that we're looking at what is out there and how can we best educate students. And so that's the first foundation, is trusting each other, right? Building that team together. After that, we want you to see this love of learning. You can see these two are having so much fun with their paint. We want them to get messy, so don't come in your best dress clothes. But we really want children to be immersed in how they're learning. So, this may just look like art or paint, but this is the way they're expressing themselves. This is how they're showing their feelings. This is the way that they really we lay that foundation for them to come into school and be happy and excited to be there, to be with their friends and their teachers. Third, we really look at fostering that independence. This is something that you will hear from me often. Being an educator in early childhood and watching these kiddos, reading the research, we want you to understand that your children, even at 3 years old, are so capable. And I know as a parent myself, it's really hard sometimes to let go and to let children do what they can do. So, what we'll talk to you about and what we'll work together on is things like, first of all, potty independence. We are, not a DCFS certified school. So that means that we can't have kids that come in pull-ups and diapers. Students have to be able to change themselves. We know there's going to be accidents through the day, and we will be there to support and help guide. But they should be potty trained. We call it potty independence, which means that they feel comfortable in the bathroom, that they feel comfortable to change themselves if there's an accident. The teacher will be there to guide them and support them, and definitely offer that emotional support, because that can be, kind of scary at times. Um, but know that, if you're getting close to the timeline, and right now some of you have 2.5-year-olds looking at our 3-year-old program, and you're not close to potty, independence yet, it's okay. Pick up the phone over the summer, give me a call, we'll talk through it. And we'll just make sure that everybody's on the same page so that we can help and support in the best way possible. Other things that we do to foster independence is, show consistency with you at home, through us at school. We want to be consistent on understanding that our kiddos can put on their own coats. They may be learning how to zip the zipper still, or button buttons, but we can scaffold those things. So, oftentimes students will come to me and say, do this. And I'll say, well, I'm not going to do it for you, but I can help you. And if we have consistent language at home and school, then we can help develop those students to be confident, and be school ready, and to be, capable in the classroom. Giving them things to do at home, just like we do at school, like cleaning up after themselves. So putting their dishes away. At school here in the 3-year-old classroom, 3 and 4s eat in the classroom. The kindergarten program eats down in our lunchroom. And all 3 rooms, the kids take their dishes and they put them either in a tub, or they put them in the kitchen area downstairs, and they're cleaning up after themselves. They're wiping down tables. They're finding tools that they need. We, sit down at the tables with them. We have conversations just like you do at home. So we really want that relationship between home and school to be symbiotic, and have that consistency too. So more about the school. If you have phones out, this is a QR code that shows a Padlet. You need this password. It's Cougars with a capital C 23. And it shows all of our wonderful teachers that work, not just the homeroom teachers, but teachers that work in the classroom with your students. So we have learning specialists, school counselor. We have an occupational therapist and a speech pathologist that come in a couple of times a week. We have a couple of movement or PE teachers and a movement teacher, music, library, art. We have our school nurse, who's delightful and is here on the early childhood wing, computer science, French and Spanish. And then we have our curriculum coaches and director, and then our director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. All of these teachers plus more will be in and out of your child's classroom and in their daily lives. And so we really want you to get to know who they are. So again, if you scan the QR code, you open up that Padlet on your own time, you can look at some of the videos, they introduce themselves, and you can get to know our team a little bit. Some people were asking beforehand, like, how often do we have enrichment classes? So in early childhood, the preschool program and the JK program, you'll have enrichment classes once a cycle. So currently we're doing a schedule study. So our cycle is going to look different. When I say cycle, we don't go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have a 6, 7, or 8 day. We're still deciding on where we're going to be for next year, which means they'll see these teachers once a cycle. So once every 7 days or once every 8 days. For some of these, especially in kindergarten, they'll see these teachers twice in a cycle. We do offer Spanish and French in kindergarten, so it's a time for them to get to know the world language in kindergarten. We are looking at bringing that to the JK and preschool program, but again, with the schedule study, it's just something that we're still exploring. So if it doesn't happen next year, we're looking at it for years. And we're looking at being creative, like maybe having the French and Spanish teachers come into the classroom with the middle school students and having those students play and speak in Spanish in that way. So I know that was a question for some people. I just wanted to cover that and make that clear when our world language program starts currently and what we're looking at for the future. So this is part of our wonderful early childhood team. Every classroom, preschool through SK, has 2 teachers. We have a lead teacher and we have an assistant teacher. Both of the teachers are looked at as, someone who can lead the classroom, and they do. They co-teach in the classroom. They both teach different parts. They're both in the room so that your student can have the best experience and really just get the attention that they need, which is what we thrive for here at Catherine Cook. We really want to know you and your student very well. And so giving you that touch point of having 2 teachers in a classroom really gives us that warm family community feeling. Our school is a responsive classroom school. So what does that mean? That means our teachers get training on responsive classroom. Responsive classroom is about bringing belonging and showing kids that they matter, giving them a sense of the important part of the world that they are to each individual child. We want to be responsive to children's needs. We want to be proactive and not reactive in the way that we work with the students. So, for instance, one of the students came in today, gave me a big hug in the car line. And I looked at him and I could just tell he didn't look like himself, and I know this because I'm in the classrooms. I'm with the teachers.
This might be the best thing for Olivia.
And I just knew he didn't feel great. So we stopped by the nurse's office and he had a little rest and some water. And then he went to class and I told him I'd come back and check on him. And I think this is such a great way to show that, we are a responsive school. And that we really do know the children very well. We give them that chance to shine and be themselves. We give them lots of different opportunities to find their best way of learning. And this is where it starts in early childhood. We're really looking at how do their bodies move? Who do they interact well with? Another question that came up in the surveys before, as you've signed up for this, is how do we figure out which classroom each of the students goes into? And one way of doing that is by looking at the dynamics of the classroom and how do the kids interact with each other. That's why we do the play dates, so that we can get to know your family a little bit. And we know it's a quick 20 minutes, but there will be follow-up conversations. Some of them we've had already, and some we'll continue to have, so that we can find the best fit for your child in our school. And so that they find those friendships, so that they have the teachers that, really get to know who they are. On a daily basis, we talk about social and emotional learning. So we really want these social interactions. We want students to be aware of their emotions, and we want them to know how to self-regulate. So, what does it mean to be silly? We want to be silly in school, and then we want to be able to do some learning in school. We want to keep and make our friends, and we want to be successful, and understanding what our emotions are, understanding how to communicate. These are the foundations for setting up great academic success. Okay, so I'm going to get into math a little bit, unless anyone has questions before I move on to some academic talk. Okay, so math starts in preschool. In preschool and in JK, it's exploratory math. So the teachers will set up different activities and centers where kids are counting, they're working on patterns, they're looking at numbers and identifying those numbers. Once we start senior kindergarten, we get into a curriculum. And the curriculum that we've chosen that goes through 4th grade is called illustrative math. So the reason this program was chosen is because it is very hands-on and it lays a solid foundation for math skills. One thing that I have parents asking a lot about math is that, parents will let me know, if students are moving quickly through something or they feel bored. We want to be very diligent, especially in the early childhood years leading up to lower school, that students have a strong foundation for what it means to understand numbers, ways numbers connect, ways numbers are taken apart. what the place value means. And this is what our illustrative math program and our exploratory math program looks like in early childhood. In every classroom, you're going to see number corners. So they call it number corners in SK, and the other classroom, it's their calendar time or their meeting time. But everyone has calendars. They do patterns. They're looking at different properties of shapes. Every classroom has a number line. Every classroom is calculating those days of school. In SK, it's going to look a little bit different. You're going to have a lot more place value and making tens than in preschool and the JK programs, but every part is leading up to the SK program so that we're, again, laying that foundation to get into the lower school mathematics. And again, exploratory. Our literacy program, literacy is made up of so many different parts. So we use guided instruction, small group work, read alouds, storytelling, intentional conversations. If you go into a classroom first thing in the morning and you're watching any of the morning meetings, the kids are able to express themselves. They're able to share stories from home. They're able to predict what's going to happen over a weekend. And it's very intentional conversations. Each of the classroom, even in preschool, has some writing time where we make books. Children are able to explore in the writing center. Every classroom works on reading skills, starting in preschool with letter identification. In JK, it's letters and sounds and getting a solid foundation there. Students that are ready to start reading will start reading. We use a variety of different books, but we really work on phonics and phonemic awareness. In the writing, we want to support that every student is a writer. So this is what it looks like in the SK program, where you have books, you have lined paper. We're working on handwriting. Handwriting with tiers starts in JK. We work on letter formation with capital letters. For students that are ready to go on to lowercase letter, the teachers will take them there. The Handwriting Without Tears program is a multi-sensory activity, and it has a lot of manipulatives to have a hands-on approach to writing. It's a wonderful program. So you can see in one of the pictures too, they're using chalkboards. We use dry erase boards. We build with Legos. So we're making letters and numbers in a variety of ways. And then eventually we get to our books and our storytelling. So at preschool level through kindergarten, we're working on writing in a variety of ways. Every classroom is filled with books. We love our books here. This is the foundation to start reading. We want to give your child that love of learning. There is environmental print everywhere in the classrooms. There's concepts of print. We're working on fluency. We're looking at picture clues. And again, this really starts in our JK program. If we see students that are knowing letters and letter sounds in our preschool program, of course, we're going to sit with them. We're going to teach them those foundations. We're going to teach them decoding strategies and comprehension. But we're really looking at where the students are and how we can take them to those levels of interest. We use a variety of different ways to teach reading. We look at the research, and there's always debate around literacy. The foundation really is the phonics, looking at strategies to help them stretch out, decode words, and then that phonemic awareness. So we're looking at sounds of the spoken words. How do we manipulate those? How do we see them? How do we hear them? And then how do we see them? And then I know there's some big questions too about those touch points of communication. Like I said in the beginning, one of the beautiful things about Catherine Cook is the touch point of just the direct communication with your child's teacher. You're going to come in right before school starts and you're going to have a conference. You're going to get to talk about your child and all the sweet things that make them. And, we'll talk to you about how we set up the classroom transitions and things like that. After that, you'll have 2 more conferences that are scheduled. So one in November and one in February. But your teacher is there and available for you and your student every day. So you'll either see them at the drop-off time or the pickup time. And although we say this isn't a time for you to really talk to the teachers at the pickup, the teachers usually tell you something great about your child's day so that you know how things are going, and you have that touch point with them. Along with the conferences in November and February, we do progress reports 3 times a year. So you'll have a progress report in November and February, and then one more at the end of the school year. You'll also see we use Seesaw. This app provides you so much insight into the classroom. The teachers will post pictures and videos throughout the day. They'll post captions on what's going on in the classroom. They'll write you updates in that. And then they also send out twice a month a classroom newsletter that gives you a little bit more in depth on what the academics look like, any upcoming things that you need to know about, events that you would be coming in from school. And then, of course, you can contact us directly through email anytime that you need, and you can set up individual times to meet as necessary. Our doors are open for you. We are a team, we're a community here, and so we really want to have that strong homeschool connection, and we are available for that. So this is a great time for some Q&A. After I've talked a bunch. So if I didn't cover your question, if you have some things that came up, if there's still some wonderings, please let me know.
How many children are accepted into the senior kindergarten?
So our senior kindergarten class is, we take 18 students in each of the classrooms, and we have 3 classrooms. So we base it off of how many students will be going from junior kindergarten into senior kindergarten. And Tiffany, maybe you would know better than I do what the number is there.
Absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you, Judy, for all of this tremendous information. I think we have all had a great understanding of early childhood from the very beginning, each and every one of you, since you've been on the tour and so forth. But to pivot directly to that question, so as Judy said, many of our JKers have matriculated over to our senior kindergarten class, and we just finished up re-enrollment. So for the most part, all of our JKers moved on to senior kindergarten. So with that being said, I'm going to have anywhere between 10 and 12 spaces for senior kindergarten this upcoming school year. And that's for families that have been in the process like yours, and then also families that will come through for the spring and summer, because we are on a rolling basis as well for admissions.
So there's 10 to 12 spaces total for SK for this coming school year.
Yes.
Okay.
And our main entry points are always preschool, JK, SK. Then 1st through 4th grade is all based on attrition. And then 5th, 6th, and 7th will be our next entry points as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
This is Sarah Andrew. I have a quick question. So I know we talked a lot about early childhood. And can you kind of talk about, as we move from early childhood then to the lower school, the connection point? Is it pretty seamless then with what, is covered in early childhood? And
Yep. No, that's a great question, Sarah. So one of the things that the school has been looking at is making sure that there is that bridge from SK into the 1st grade program. And that's one of the reasons why we developed and implemented the illustrative math program, so that it would be seamless going from, the academics math from SK into 1st grade. This is our 3rd year researching the math program and then adopting it into the school. And so next year, and we've already begun the study of literacy, but we are constantly looking at our curriculum. And so next year, our main focus then will be literacy, so that we're looking to make sure that we're bridging anything that we need from the early childhood into the lower school, that we understand how the teachers are teaching, that we understand the science and inquiry behind reading, and we make it very consistent. Our teachers work together. We have professional development days throughout the year where we are meeting in collaborative groups for our academics. So we have our teachers for literacy and JK through 4th grade meeting together as a team. The same thing for math. It starts with SK through 4th grade. We meet together as a team. And then we share. So the preschool and the junior kindergarten programs also share, here's what we're doing to build that foundation for math, to make learning exploratory so that we know how to express to the teachers, this is where this group of students is at. You know, if they're counting up to 100, the SK teachers will know that before they start the school. Same with SK to first grade. We're very diligent about meeting with the teachers and talking about, here's where this group of students are, here's where a few particular individuals are at, and so they know the students very well. But we offer many times throughout the year for the teachers to get together so that we do have that seamless entry point.
Thank you.
And Judy, just building on something you just said, you kind of talked about how there's different, kids in the class are at different places in any learning journey. How is that managed in the classroom to, make sure each child is appropriately encouraged, but not discouraged and all of those
Right.
types of things?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So first and foremost, like I've said, I think a few times, we really want to get to know who the students are individually. We differentiate within the classroom. We have a great learning specialist, not only for early childhood, but she works with the first grade program as well. So when people hear learning specialists, you often think about kids that are struggling, but she works on differentiating for all students, right? And finding the ways that we can best meet their needs. So some classes work better in a whole group learning, right? They might all be very similar in their learning style. Other classes need more small groups and breaking that down. So every year it's going to look different for those students in that group. And then within the group, we really do have to look at that individual, right? And we need to learn how to differentiate for them. So we offer different ways to go in breadth and depth. I often get the question about acceleration. I've worked personally with accelerated programs, and I know in early childhood, if you don't lay the foundation, the acceleration is going to hit a brick wall sooner than later. And this is research-based, this is observational, this is me being in the classroom teaching. And so we want to be very careful about accelerating before we go. If we're looking at that, we want you to go breadth and depth before pushing, right? And there's always that time where the student is going to, say, okay, I'm ready for more, or we can see that. And when we get to that point, we'll move them, at where they are. But at Catherine Cook, we look at that breadth and depth. We look at opening up projects, things like that, so that they can really just thrive in their academics and keep loving it.
Judy, I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
How about inter-class type of interactions? I know that within the class, it sounds like there's like a beautiful relationship with the teacher and between, the students, but, just asking, I heard there's 3 classes, 18 people each. And so is there a chance that if, you like someone in the other class or you want to be their friend?
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of times for us to interact. So the SK, JK preschool classes, they have recess times together. Everybody has 2 recess times a day. And so we do mix them. So preschool classes will go together, and then each of the preschool classes will have a time where they play with the JK kids as well. The JK and the SK also mix, and then the SK classes mix together as well. The senior kindergarten students eat lunch together, so that's another touch point. We're looking at combining more of the PE times too, just because it's gym and it's a bigger place and we can hold more kids. And so there will be plenty of times where the kids interact together. They do parties together.
Wow.
Yeah, we have our Friday assemblies, so we're always together during those. They do, they do performances like the friendship concert through music. Each of the classrooms also takes an assembly Friday, so they do some sort of way of showing off what they're doing. So our preschool classes got together and they literally did jumping. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. And they were so
Amazing.
happy. They videotaped them. They got in front of the whole school. They showed them how they could jump on like different like an obstacle course type thing. And then our SK class did songs for us. And then our junior kindergarten class is coming up soon. So there's plenty of opportunities for the kids to get to know each other, not just in their own grade level, but through the whole early childhood.
And then in addition
Awesome.
to that, they go on field trips together. So you
Yes.
will see
Oh,
all of the senior kindergartners going to a museum together, and they love getting on the school bus. So
That's true. That's
I
true.
can't imagine.
Sit with their other friends.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I kind of piggyback on that question? I'd be curious how kind of like separation of students with different like language skills or like interacting with other like higher grades language, or is it just like the classes stay kind of together as they do their language?
Are you talking about like the Spanish and French program?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So in early childhood, like I was saying, we are looking at bringing the world languages down to the junior kindergarten and preschool. It's something we're working on. I'm a huge proponent for this. So we're not there yet, but I'm hoping to say good news soon, if not this year, next year. But the senior kindergarten class, their world languages is just within their own classroom. And they do, it's an introduction to both French and Spanish at this point, and then they'll choose once they get to lower school. And so they, I know somebody had said their child was in a Spanish immersion program. They wanted to keep that going. That's great. They still will get French in the senior kindergarten, and then they'll get to choose. So maybe they'll continue on with Spanish, but they'll do French with us, which would be really great for them. But those are within the classroom. I'm not sure at some point, Tiffany, if we do split them according to, or if it's just differentiated within the classroom. Do you have an answer for that? Or maybe I can find out.
yeah, for the world language program in senior kindergarten, everyone is together. So
Right.
everyone is doing French with Madame Gigi. Everyone's doing Spanish with Senorita Karma. And then once they hit first grade, that is when they actually go into those classrooms. So they will head over all of the French speaking students and then all Spanish speaking students. They split.
And so it sounds like then it's just differentiated for those students.
Correct.
Within the classroom.
Correct.
Hello, I have a quick question on the After School Adventures program. I'm curious, does that start in early childhood as far as after school care goes?
It does. So we have two programs. We have the after school program. So that's any day of the week where the children can stay until 6 o'clock. And it's, they're in the classrooms, they're playing, they're exploring art, etc. And then you have the after school adventures, which is a 1 hour class. It's 1 hour, right, Tiffany, or 45
Yes.
minutes?
1 hour.
With a specialty teacher. So there are offerings starting as early as preschool. I don't know if Tiffany or Jessica, either one of you could talk a little bit more about what we offer for that age group, but
Yeah.
there's just so many choices. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah.
The Legos and
I'm happy to speak on this. So as Judy said, there's two programs, extended day and after school adventures. Every trimester, there are new classes that come out for after school adventures. We'll actually be getting those in a week for the spring term. They range from dance to sports to arts. And what I also enjoy about it is everything is tailored to an age. So for preschoolers, we understand that attention and focus, those can be a little bit challenging after school because they're really tired. However, we offer them a lot more dance choices, a lot more art, getting messy, all those things you don't want them to do at home, they can do here. So they have those chances. And then I love the program because it's very flexible. So you can do, for extended day, you can choose both blocks per day, Monday through Friday. You can do a drop-in if you have to work late, all those good things. And then also to elaborate, we have a summer camp as well, which starts about mid-June of this year. So I highly encourage you to look into that. It's a great way to get children who have never been at Catherine Cook an introduction into Catherine Cook. And we offer 6 weeks of that. So you can definitely look into our website for that information as well.
Thanks so much.
Talk a little bit about the preschool half-day program, like when that would end and how that transition usually goes?
Sure. So that is an option for the preschool 3-year-old where you can attend half day. So they stay through lunch. And that way they're able to socialize and, we take care of that part for you. And they leave right before nap. So the pickup time is about 12:15, 12:30. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tiffany and Jessica on that. And we have, a few students, I would say about 4 or 5 students that do a half day program, but so what happens in the morning is morning meeting, recess time, center activities, story time. If there's field trips, they'll let you know if the pickup would be later, but they usually try to do the field trips and return by that half day time. So field trips for preschool are things that are closer. So theaters that are nearby, farmers market, nature centers that are nearby, and you'll spend about an hour or so and then come back to school. And so that time is usually around, like I said, the 12:30 pickup. And then the afternoon, if you're looking for the full day after lunch, is nap time for preschool. JK also has a quiet rest time. So for preschool, it's about an hour, hour and a half. It's longer always in the beginning of the year, and it kind of weans as the school year goes on. And it depends on all the activity that's happened throughout the day too. The teachers really pay attention to like who's their big sleepers and who's not. And so they'll have that rest time for preschool in the afternoon, and then they have another recess time or center activity, a story, and then they go at the 2:45 mark.
And then also for preschool half day, if you chose that to begin with in the school year, you could always change in about October and November. I see that many times with our preschool half day family because it's an adjustment for you as a parent to see them come to school. But I guarantee you they will say, I'm ready for a full day because I want to see my friends throughout the day.
Okay, so is that something you can elect at any time, or is it during like specific months where you can increase to the full-time program?
You would just contact me and let me know when you're ready for it. And that will be a conversation between the teacher, Judy, and myself to make sure it's going to be a good transition time. But
we would really focus on like the beginning of the year. So we had a few students, I think 2 this year, right away in September said we're ready for full day. So September is a good time because we're still getting adjusted into the school year. After that, we would look at like, after the holidays, so after the winter break, that would be a good entry point, or like after spring break if you wanted to try to acclimate for JK the next year. But if there's a specific time earlier than that, we would just sit down and have that conversation.
Okay, great.
So we have a few more minutes. So if I have 2 or 3 more questions, and if we don't have any other questions, that's okay as well.
I have a question, which is a great segue from the last several questions. If you have, my son is 4, so heading from a half-day program to a full day in the fall, what type of support do you offer the child, right? Because that can be a large transition in terms of just the sheer amount of time at school. Like what types of additional support or programs do you offer to make sure that like the child is acclimating, well?
That's where we're going to have that conversation with you at the beginning of the year to talk about, how things have been going, if he was in a summer program or not, and talk about, what the day's been looking like. The teachers are there to support. So, like I mentioned, there's 2 teachers in every classroom. I'm in and out of the classrooms all the time. It's my best part of the day. When I don't get out of my office, I don't like it. We have 2 floating teachers, so substitute teachers that are here permanently, that go in and out of the classroom. So if your child is having some, trouble transitioning or needing a little extra TLC at that time to transition to the full day, there's a plethora of people that'll be happy to go down and give some snuggles and read stories and just help with that. So even my early childhood coordinator is in and out of the classrooms all day. So those are the things that we love and appreciate. And then we would just be in direct communication, let you know how things are going. If we, your child's struggling, we want to make sure that you know where we think the struggles are. You can help us with some, helpful tools, and we can offer the same support at home. Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
it depends on the individual child, and on how we would handle that. But definitely we just want to be there to support and just make them feel very comfortable. Great question.
Small question.
Mhm.
I was really impressed with the after school adventures. When we learned about them, I remember talking about how it's not just like your teachers that are, teaching them to play piano or learn karate, but you bring in vendors from all over the city, which is really cool. Is there any kind of, I love the idea of being able to try a lot of different things, but is there any continuation? Like if you're in a entry level tap, can you continue and take like a more advanced? Do any of those enrichment classes like continue and build on themselves?
Yes, I'll speak to this. We do have a lot of students who continue on. So say if they're doing an instrument, beginning level acoustic guitar, they could move on to intermediate and so forth. And that is through like School of Rock and all those type of vendors that we work with. We have a number of students who have done karate. So they start off their white belt and now they're black belt. So it does continue on. We want to see a student progress as much as possible. That's the beauty of those after school programs. But then also, as we know, children will dibble and dabble in their passions. So you could try fencing one trimester, and then the next trimester, we're on to soccer. So, so that's the beauty of it here.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I saw in the chat too, someone had put in, can I talk a little bit more about the enrichment classes? So I can touch base on that a little bit. So we offer computer science. So that's our tech lab starting in preschool. Ms. Stewart is masterful in working with our 3-year-olds, in my opinion, because she works, through 6th grade, and to watch the difference in her teaching, I think it's just amazing. I'm actually envious of her because, I'm an early childhood and elementary teacher, and to go all the way through 6th grade, I don't know how people do that. But she does work on like the foundations of understanding how to work the iPads, how to turn them on and off, how to do different apps with the coloring. She does have them working in preschool through SK on Scratch Junior, which is a great coding website. If you don't know it, it's fantastic, and it's the kids immediately learn to do it on their own. And so they're in there once a cycle. We have library for everybody once a cycle as well. So they go down into our beautiful library. It is just gorgeous and cozy. And Mr. Gall is the most special librarian, and he's magical as well. In fact, one of the 3-year-olds today came with these little glasses on, and his mom said, "Can you guess who he is?" And he said, "I'm Mr. Gall." So they make such great connections with the teachers there. We have PE, so they go into our gym once a cycle, and they have movement, which is in our studio with Miss Burrows once a cycle. Let's see, what am I missing? And in SK, we have both world languages, which I talked about. I feel like I'm missing a few things. Music. How can I miss Beard Leroy? She is our wonderful music teacher. She's here on our floor right next to our preschool classrooms. So she sees the children once a cycle. In SK, I think it's twice a cycle. But she's right here on our floor, which is really nice. And then starting in SK, they do art class too. Did I get them all, Tiffany and Jessica?
Yes, for the most part. And then students, even in early childhood, still get a chance to integrate in our spaces for the AB studio and then the Idea Lab. So our teachers are even it's not a formal class, but they want them to have that early introduction into those spaces. So understanding what it means to be with the green screen, what does it mean to use certain tools, such as a screwdriver, and understand how to hand sew. All those things we want to introduce the children to as early as possible.
And the teachers work together, this, piggybacking on a previous question, but and how we really work as a community as the teachers. The teachers will reach out to the science teachers, even the math teachers, in the lower school and the middle school, to help them create the units that they're working on. We look at our school as an inquiry-based program, meaning that we want the children to develop questions. We want them to tell us what they're interested in, and we want to teach on what they're interested in. So if we introduce a topic in our heads as teachers, we might think it's going to go one way and we might plan for that, but the kids might take it in a totally different direction. So you could see in their JK classrooms, they just did all 3 rooms talked about building. In each of the JK classrooms, building was different because the kids led it in a different way. One class was very focused on architects. Another class was very focused on what kinds of things that you can build with those materials. So they had like a lot of things like pipe cleaners and Play-Doh and Legos, and they were integrating all of it together. And another classroom took it in a totally different direction where they were looking at like buildings in Chicago and things like that. So even if we introduce a topic, we want the kids to ask the questions so that we're teaching them in the direction that they're curious about. We're teaching them how to be inquisitive and develop those questions as well, so that they can continue to love that learning and we can really foster them.
Well, we have about 5 more minutes, and we want to be very diligent and courteous of everyone's time. But thank you once again, Judy, for all of this expertise. Judy is such a pivotal leader here at Catherine Cook because she's very hands-on. So I can tell you that as a parent and also as her colleague. And I'm just really looking forward to this upcoming Friday when we give out admissions decisions, and you will hear from us personally. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us via email. We have recorded this session, so if there's something that you missed or you want to share it with anyone, please let us know, and we will be following up very soon. So thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Good
much.
to see you, Judy and Tiffany. Bye.
Thank you. Good to see you too.